My wife cheated on me to be able to have a child because I'm sterile, so I left her so she could be a single mother. I'm here to leave a record out loud of how I found out my wife cheated on me to fulfill her dream of being a mother, knowing that I am sterile, and how I decided to help her fulfill it, leaving her with exactly that and nothing more, being a single mother. This happened in the United States, amidst health insurance, co-payments, corporate emails, and smiles with white teeth. There is no moral, only decisions. I am 35 years old, a data engineer. I work remotely 3 days a week, and the other 2 I go to an office that smells of burnt coffee and old carpet. I married Amanda, 33, 4 years ago. I loved her with that foolish obedience with which one convinces oneself that life has already taken shape and one just has to push. We bought a house in a suburb that sounds like the name of a boulevard. I will not put it here. I do not feel like it. Big dog. Mortgage. Barbecues on weekends. Neighbors who greet by just waving their hand as if the rest of their body cost them money. We wanted children. We wanted, in the past tense. We tried for a year as the manual dictates. Ovulation apps, basal temperatures, timed sex with the candles out, because we must not get distracted, love. When nothing happened, the obvious. Tests. First her, then me. I had always been the healthy one in the story. I trained, ate well, drank water and supplements. Inside, you believe you are unbreakable. The urologist came with a funeral-like smile and 2 words I learned to hate in one afternoon: non-obstructive azoospermia. In plain English, my testicles do not produce sperm. It is not that they are lost in a funnel. They do not exist, not one. 0. They counted them, and there was no one to count. Sometimes it happens because of genetics, sometimes because of bad luck. In my case, probably genetic, he said, like someone saying, "It is going to rain tomorrow, bring an umbrella." He had the professional tone of someone who gives you a ticket, polite, practical, distant. There are options, he said. Sperm donation, adoption. It is not the end of the world. I nodded. I went out and sat in the car without starting it. I called Amanda. How did it go, love? My voice did not come out right away. Everything was too dry, as if we were acting out a couple in crisis and had forgotten our script. What are the options? She finally asked, sitting down. Donor, adoption. We can schedule an appointment with a clinic. The insurance covers parts. We can start researching now. What do you think? She looked at me as if what I thought did not matter. I want a child, she said. I want a baby that is mine. It will be yours? I said. It will be ours. No, I mean my genes. There the temperature of the table changed. I did not jump on her. I did not say anything. I did not have a counter-argument that did not sound like a slogan. In the series in my head, in that scene I would take her hand. I would tell her, I know, it is difficult, but we will do it together. In real life, I imagined the word donor as an empty chair at the table, a misplaced third setting. We can talk about it calmly, I said. We talked about it in therapy. The psychologist was a guy with a perfect beard, a calm voice, and diplomas lined up like soldiers. Amanda talked about genetic grief, about feeling like the universe had played a cruel joke on her, that she always knew she would be a mother since she was little, and now someone had disconnected that destiny. I listened and followed the ball with my head. When it was my turn, I said what well-educated men say, that I love her, that we will do it together, that my value is not in my chromosomes. By saying it so much, I almost believed it. She agreed to visit a fertility clinic. We went. They explained protocols, waiting lists, donor banks with profiles like furniture catalogs. Amanda stared at a page with a donor with green eyes, an MBA, a college athlete, and an allergy to cats. She closed the tablet with disgust. This is weird. It is, I said. But we can get used to it. I do not know. From then on, the I do not knows that sounded like no began. In parallel, her phone started to live face down. Focus mode, it said. She changed her gym to Pilates classes at 6. She started dressing nicely for herself. The new perfume was sweeter, cloying. To me, it smelled like a date. I am not jealous. I do not want to sell myself as a saint. But I learned to distinguish certain cracks. The way she would put her phone away when I entered the kitchen, the little laugh that would escape her while looking at the screen. It is just the girls' chat. The girls apparently write a lot on Tuesday afternoons. I did not jump. I did not confront her. I started taking mental notes. I do not spy. I do not install anything on devices. I am not that guy. Let us just say that the universe, if you are even slightly attentive, puts the evidence on the table for you on a napkin. One ordinary Thursday, I came back earlier than usual because the 4 o'clock meeting was canceled. I opened the door and heard the dryer and soft music in the room. Amanda came out of the bathroom with a towel on her head and her Apple Watch vibrating. She smiled, surprised. "You are back," she said. "Yes, the sprint got canceled," I said without explaining anything. I walked to the kitchen. On the island, her MacBook was open with an email in draft. I did not read. I did not have to read. What I saw was the message window floating behind, just a corner with a name, T, and a last cut-off message, that I am ovulating. My head went black for a second, like when someone turns off the lights in a room and your eyes take time to adjust. I closed my eyes, opened them, closed the Mac carefully, and pushed it towards the center, as if putting a brake on my own curiosity. "Should we order Thai?" I asked. "What is wrong with you?" she said, sizing me up. "Nothing. Let us order Thai. We ate watching a cooking show that we did not care about." She wrote under the table twice. The sound of the phone's keyboard has a different cadence when it is not the girl's chat. I did not sleep well that night. One takes inventory in the dark. Dates, gestures, phrases. At 3:15 in the morning, I wrote in my phone's notepad, T and ovulation. The next day, I made an appointment with a family lawyer. I was not thinking about divorce. I was thinking, I want to know how to protect myself. The lawyer, Lawson, in his 50s, big hands, a suit that was too small for him. He offered coffee. He said he did not judge anyone. He listened. When I said, non-obstructive azoospermia, he stopped taking notes and looked at me straight on. "Okay," he said, "this is the most important thing. If your wife gets pregnant during the marriage, the hospital will put your name on the birth certificate by default, unless you deny paternity from the beginning. Do not sign anything. Do not sign anything. I repeat, do not sign anything. And if there is even the slightest possibility of infidelity, request a DNA test, communicate it in writing, and leave the house before the birth. Do not stay. Do not create the appearance of a father. Do you understand what I am telling you?" "I understand," I said. "And yes, there is a possibility. Gather evidence without doing anything illegal. Emails, messages she sends you. Keep records. Do not get into her phone with passwords. If she leaves something in plain sight, take a photo. If she works at a company with an anti-fraternization policy and you identify the other person, that is a matter for that company's human resources, not yours. But be clear that if there is a baby and you sign, then denying paternity is a much longer road." "I will not sign," I said, surprised at how firm my voice sounded. "Good." I left with a short list of tasks and a decision hovering around me like a drone. I did not want to believe I needed it. One Saturday, Amanda announced she was going to a special 2-hour Pilates class. An hour and 20 minutes in, someone rang the doorbell. It was UPS. The delivery man handed me a heavy, unglamorous box. I opened it without thinking. It was a set of ovulation tests, prenatal vitamins, and a small bag of raspberry tea with a printed text. "Fertile Mama." I laughed, not out of humor. I laughed like someone who finds a joke on a tombstone. That night, while she was brushing her teeth, her Apple Watch vibrated. The notification appeared on the iPad we use for recipes because of the silly idea of having everything synchronized. Tea tomorrow 10 in the morning. We cannot fail. I should have disabled the cross notifications months ago. I closed the iPad slowly, like you close a door so as not to wake a child that does not exist. "Who was that?" I asked when she came out of the bathroom, drying her hands on her hair towel, which absorbs nothing and costs as much as a microwave. "Work," she said so quickly that she was already lying before she started. "Work texts you we cannot fail?" It is an inside joke. You are being paranoid. I am being sterile, Amanda. It is different. Her jaw tensed. She crossed her arms. That victim role does not suit you. Is it a role? I asked in a voice I did not recognize. I am just saying you are hypersensitive. Everything smells like betrayal to you. I cannot laugh with anyone. You can laugh with whoever you want. Do me a favor and do not laugh with tea on the day your app says you are ovulating. Silence. That glass-like silence that one should not touch because it cuts. Are you going through my things? No. Your things just throw themselves at me. We did not scream. No plates flew. She went to sleep in the bedroom. I stayed on the couch with the dog, who has a talent for sleeping peacefully in the midst of bombs. The next day I left early, more to avoid seeing than to see. I wandered around, had a long coffee, opened and closed the map on my phone to not think. I returned at 11:30 in the morning. Her car was not there. Her perfume was floating in the house like a teenage crime. I sat at the table and opened the laptop. It was not even password protected. In the bottom corner, blue iMessage bubbles. I cannot pretend I stumbled upon what I saw. I read it all. 8 weeks of millimeter-perfect coordination. Not today, it will not work. Try again at 2 in the afternoon. I will test positive tomorrow. I am going to tell him I am going to the long Pilates class. The exchange seemed written by someone who writes logistics emails. Few words, much precision. T was named Trevor. He had a generic photo, light blue shirt, salesman smile, a glass of wine in his hand. He worked with her. They had a cross-functional initiative together, that is what they called it. At the end of a chain of messages, one from Amanda, I want this baby. I do not care how we get there. I took pictures of it, disabled the iPad synchronization, closed the laptop, opened the window because I needed air. When she returned, her hair was damp, as if she had showered in a place with cheap soap. She saw me sitting with my arms crossed, the phone on the table, and understood that there were no more inside jokes to save this. What did you do? She asked defensively, which is the tone of someone whose temple is about to catch fire. I read. I said, you left it open. You had no right. I had no doubt. I no longer have any. She dropped her bag. She made a gesture with her hand, as if shooing a fly. You are not fulfilling your duties as a husband, she said with a coldness that can still chill my spine today. You cannot give me a child. And you found Trevor, who can, I said. Congratulations on the efficiency. I do not want to fight, she said. I want solutions. Perfect, I replied. Solution? You want to be a mother? You are going to be one alone. Her eyes went empty, not of tears, but of expression. What are you saying? That I am not going to be a father to a child that is not mine. I am not going to sign anything. I am not going to pose in pictures with your belly. I am not going to finance your soap opera, and I am not going to yell or insult you. I am going to call my lawyer, get my things, pay my share of the mortgage, and clear the way for you to achieve your dream. You cannot, she began, searching for the right verb and stumbling over all of them. You cannot just leave me like this. I am not leaving you, I said, standing up. I am letting you go. You already left first. She sat down as if her legs had given out. The dog looked at her from his bed, confused. I went up and down with 2 suitcases. They were not my best suitcases. I was not in movie mode. I packed clothes, my work laptop, my watch charger, and a folder with papers you think you do not need until you need them. Marriage certificate, mortgage, insurance policy. While I was coming down, she was typing quickly on her phone. I am sure it was to Trevor. Where are you going? She asked when she saw the car keys in my hand. To an Airbnb for now. On Monday, I will look at apartments. I spoke with Lawson. He told me something very simple that I am repeating to you, so you do not accuse me of anything strange later. If you get pregnant, I will deny paternity in writing and I will not sign at the hospital. I am telling you this to your face, so there are no misunderstandings. And what if the baby is yours? She blurted out as if pressing an emergency button. Let us not play with miracles, Amanda. I was given a clear diagnosis. You got a positive ovulation test with another man. If you need religion, go to church, not with me. She started to cry. Not elegant tears. Short, messy sobs. I did not move. I am not a monster. I was just done. There is a point where touching becomes a lie. I love you, she said as if the word could disinfect something. I loved you too. Not enough to raise Trevor's son. I went out. The air had that clarity of after the rain. I drove for 20 minutes without music. The sound of my own tires accompanied me. At the Airbnb, I wrote a short email to Lawson. It is confirmed. I am moving out. Guide me through the process of denying paternity and separating assets. He replied with received. Tomorrow at 9:30 in the office, and an attachment, a checklist. I washed my face. I slept little. The next morning, I started the inventory of accounts, joint subscriptions, additional cards, all that stuff you join for love and separate with spreadsheets. The following days, Amanda alternated between fury and pleading. Messages at 2 in the morning. Do not do this. We can find a donor and pretend it was yours. At 10, you are a coward. At 3, It is an opportunity, please. At 6, do not ruin our lives out of pride. I replied only once with Lawson's wording pasted. From today on, all communication will be in writing. Any decision regarding the property will be through our lawyers. I will not consent to acknowledging paternity of a child that is not mine. I will not sign documents at the hospital. Please, do not come to where I am staying. She stopped talking to me directly and started building another version with her friends. I received screenshots from 2 acquaintances who prefer drama to silence. He left her because he is sterile and is afraid of being judged. He cannot look her in the face. I did not answer. If you are going to fight for your story, do it in the places that matter. One afternoon, Lawson asked me to think if I knew the identity of the third party. I put T equals Trevor equals Company X. He gave me another line. Do not do anything with her employer yourself. But if your wife is an employee there and they have a policy against relationships between colleagues, that will be an issue the company will have to handle if they find out. It is not your battle, but the existence of that policy can influence the negotiation. Do not lie. Do not make anonymous calls. Document what you have. Your time will come. I saved that phrase, your time will come, not as a threat, but as a calendar. 2 weeks later, Amanda asked to meet to talk. I agreed in a public cafe, a table near the window. She arrived looking like she had not slept. She ordered a tea. She did not touch it. I am pregnant, she blurted out. Without preamble, time became viscous again. I looked at her face, not her belly. Her hands were shaking. Okay, I said. I wanted to tell you in person. I wanted you to know that you and I, that we still can. I am not going to be part of that. I interrupted her gently. You know that. You might change your mind when you see him, she said with that absurd faith with which one believes a baby is a spell. I am not going to sign, I repeated. Whatever needs to be done, we will do it through lawyers. Her eyes welled up. A couple of tables away, a white-haired lady looked at us with that harmless curiosity with which older people peer into others' drama. You have no heart, Amanda said. I have a memory. Trevor hates you, she shot, childishly, like someone throwing a stone. I am glad there is room for emotions in his schedule, I replied. She started and bit her lip. She did not finish the sentence. I finished it for her in my head. He is not going to leave his wife. There is always a wife. Of course, there is a wife. Take care, I said. Not for her, for the embryo, which was not to blame for anything. And get yourself a good lawyer. I went outside. The sun was beating down shamelessly. I had a follow-up meeting with Lawson in an hour. In the car, for the first time, I relaxed a millimeter. There was something liberating in the clarity. I was inside the hurricane, yes, but I already knew where I was not willing to walk. The technical part began, boring if it is not your turn. Emails, formal notifications, separating accounts, freezing cards, changing passwords that are yours, but you share out of habit. I changed the Spotify subscription, the cloud subscription, the supermarket subscription. I canceled the family cell phone plan. I sent her a list of things she could keep and those she could not via her legal email. Lawson drafted the anticipated denial of paternity, which is basically a document where I state the obvious, that there is no biological possibility that the child she is expecting is mine, that I do not grant consent to use my name, and that I will not sign anything. I signed it. He sent it. I felt ridiculously better for having signed something that only repeated reality. Amanda, meanwhile, played both sides, sweetness and ice. She forwarded me an email with the subject, "We can do this right," where she proposed keeping the house, that I continue to pay for a while, and that we would see. I read it 3 times to see if there was a hidden joke. There was not. I replied with a dry paragraph. No. The age of concessions to keep a photo on the shelf is over. One Sunday night, one of those that smell like the week is about to start, I received a direct message on Instagram from someone I do not follow. Profile picture with no face. You are Amanda's husband. I did not reply. I am Trevor's wife. I need to talk. I observed the message as one observes a large spider on the wall, with alert, without panic. I asked her for an email. She gave it to me. I wrote to her from my personal account. No aliases, no games. Yes. What do you need? She replied in 5 minutes with surgical clarity. Her name was Lee, 34, married to Trevor for 6 years, 2 young children. She knew something was going on, but not what. She found poorly deleted messages. She suspected Amanda. She wanted to confirm. She did not want to fight with me. She wanted the truth. I sent her 3 screenshots, enough for her to know, without exposing more than necessary. The phrase, "I am ovulating," was in one of them. Lee replied with a "thank you." It took another 10 minutes. In the next email, her tone changed. She asked me if we were going to sue for anything, if she needed to give a statement. I told her not at the moment, that I just wanted the truth to be where it needed to be. She wrote to me the next day, saying she had spoken with a lawyer. She did not ask for my advice. She informed me. I liked her, solid. One of those people who, when the ship is sinking, do not start screaming, they point the way to the lifeboat. In parallel, my life began to reorganize itself without asking for permission. I rented an apartment with white walls and an echo. I bought 2 pans for plates and a coffee maker that makes coffee just the way I like it, strong and honest. The dog spent 2 days with me and 2 with her until the lawyer said it was better to set a clear schedule in writing to avoid misunderstandings. I did not want to fight over the dog. I called the veterinarian. We made a plan. I wrote it down in a document. Everything in writing. At the office, my boss asked me if I was okay. I told him the truth in 3 sentences. He offered me a full remote week. I took 2. Working saved me from thinking nonsense. Building extract transform loads has a beauty I did not know I would need. Everything fits if you work on it enough. People do not. The last detail of this first stretch arrived by certified mail a few days later. A letter from Amanda's company's human resources, addressed to her with a copy to me for reasons of shared address. It still was for the system's purposes. Internal investigation for potential violation of the workplace relationship policy. I did nothing to provoke it. I did not call anyone. I did not send an anonymous tip. Lee perhaps, or Trevor himself who cannot keep his mouth shut. It does not matter. The company requested separate meetings with each of them. I did not care. She did. Amanda wrote to me that night. Was it you? I replied, no. Silence. And then, as if life had a sense of timing, the email from the laboratory arrived with the appointment for the DNA test. In case they insisted on putting my name on some paper when the baby was born. Lawson had set it all up in the background. I just read, confirmed, and marked it on my calendar. Everything simple, everything clean. I worked better that way, without frills, without speeches, without self-deception. That is all for now. The important part, the one you are interested in because you are here for the end, not for the process, is underway. I have already chosen. She has already chosen. Trevor has already chosen without wanting to admit it, and the systems where everyone claims to be very professional are starting to do their job without shouting. My task is to hold my nerve, not to move a muscle I do not have to move, and to let the tree fall where it must fall. The letter from Human Resources was not a roar. It was a sober piece of paper with a boring subject and a paragraph that said, Internal investigation for potential violation of the workplace relationship policy. I read it twice. I did not feel victory. I felt order. Lawson, my lawyer, had insisted on that. Do not chase people. Do your part, document, and let the systems do what they say they do. For the first time, I understood the charm of that phrase. 2 days later, Lee, Trevor's wife, wrote to me from her corporate email. Thank you for confirming what I already knew. I have already spoken with my lawyer. I also gave Human Resources the messages I found. I will keep you updated on anything that affects paternity. Precise, direct. She did not ask for permission. She did not ask for comfort. You could tell she had made the decision to bury her marriage with her own shovel. I continued checking boxes on a checklist that I did not invent myself. Formally communicating the separation of assets, freezing shared cards, closing the savings account we used for the future, notifying my company that, when the time for the divorce came, Amanda would be removed from my health insurance. Everything by email with a copy to Lawson. Not a single call, not a "how are you feeling?" A septic. There is nothing cleaner than the language of processes when you have to detach from someone who is no longer your person. The phone did not stop vibrating. Amanda jumped between tones. Sometimes it was glass. Was it you who called my company? You are going to regret this. I will read you in writing. Sometimes it was cheap velvet. We can fix this if you come back. You do not have to humiliate me like this. I am not humiliating you, I replied. I am just not going to be a father to a child that is not mine. And sometimes it was fantasy accounting. If you keep up the mortgage until he is born, I promise you that we will sell afterwards and I will pay you your share. No, Lawson asked me to put on record my refusal of paternity in triplicate before the baby was born. Hospital, not autopilot, he said, and explained. If there is no prior warning, it is too easy for a nurse to hand you a tablet to sign. You let your guard down, put your name in the box, and you become the legal father of a child that does not belong to you. No scenes, no going to the hospital to make a show, just papers. We sent certified letters to the hospital, to the county's vital records office, and an email notice to the clinic where Amanda had her checkups. They all said the same thing. I am non-obstructive azoospermic. I am not the father of this pregnancy. I do not grant my consent for my name to be used on any paternity form. I request that the appropriate parties be notified. We attached a copy of the urologist's diagnosis. An email from the clinic replied courteously, "We acknowledge receipt. Your note has been filed." I printed it and put it in my gray folder of things that save lives without making a fuss. Meanwhile, Human Resources did its thing. They summoned Amanda and Trevor separately. Administrative investigation, compliance review, conflict of interest. It was not fast or dramatic. It was methodical. They asked for their corporate devices for a backup, which is an elegant way of saying, let us see what you write when you think you are in your inboxes. They did not tell me details. It was not my company, but I did find out the results. Lee sent me a dry line weeks later. He was suspended without pay while they finished the investigation. She was left on standby until further notice. There is an audit for possible use of work time and resources to coordinate meetings. In other words, they saw them chatting during work hours, using shared calendars for blocks that were not meetings, and probably found the phrase, "I am ovulating," floating in some backup. I do not know. I do not need to know. The conclusion was enough for me. Both were left in a limbo where salaries suffer from allergies and reputations cough. Lee was moving her pieces on her own. I did what I had to do, she told me in a cafe that smelled of vanilla and fake things. We met to cross-reference information and make sure our stories did not step on each other's toes. She had dark circles under her eyes, but she spoke like a manager evacuating a burning building with a megaphone in hand. I am getting a divorce, she told me without drama. With 2 kids, this is going to be a journey, but I am not going to raise them with a guy who sticks his hand in 2 families and thinks he is indispensable. Do you know if he acknowledged the pregnancy? I asked. He does not say it with his mouth, but he writes it with his body. He is scared and he is doing the math. He is going to do more math? I said, and I sounded cold. I did not apologize. I did not take pictures with Lee or cling to her misfortune. That cheap temptation to become an ally of another victim to feel morally clean does not interest me. We shook hands like 2 people who unintentionally ended up in the same fire and agreed not to hinder each other's work. The second big blow came with an email I did not expect. The bank was demanding we decide about the house. Default situation in 45 days if you do not regularize. Amanda had stopped transferring her part of the mortgage. She did it quietly, perhaps hoping I would swallow it and continue paying out of habit. I wrote to her with a copy to Lawson. The bank demands we define the house. I propose an immediate sale. If you do not respond in 48 hours, I will initiate petition proceedings. She responded, I am not planning to sell the house where my child will grow up. If you are a man, at least take care of that. I replied with 4 words, see you at the hearing. Lawson filed the petition and the court gave us a date. One Monday morning, the judge heard the summarized story: marriage in decay, pregnancy, denial of paternity, inability to sustain the mortgage split in 2. He did not need to be Sherlock. He ordered the sale with a temporary administration plan. Each would pay their percentage until the transaction was completed under penalty of sanction. As Amanda was leaving, she threw a family killer at me that sounded childish in the echo of the hallway. I did not respond. I walked to the parking lot, opened my car, breathed, and called the real estate agent who had been recommended to me. 2 signatures later, the house that smelled of barbecue and Sundays began to exist only as a listing on Zillow with bright photos, as if ugly things had not happened within those walls. There was another court session, this time for the matter of spousal support. Lawson brought his folder with accounts, hotel charges on work days and hours, Ubers to places where we have no family or friends, purchases of prenatal vitamins with my secondary card before I canceled it. Dissipation of marital assets, he said, and the judge nodded like someone checking a box on a list. In my state, Infidelity is not a crime, but the waste of common money for purposes unrelated to the marriage carries weight. Amanda's request for me to support her while she stabilized collapsed with a dull thud. Petition denied. Her face tightened into an expression that reminded me of when she bit into a lemon as a child in a video she once showed me, smiling. She did not smile that day. In parallel to the legal score, life continued to play its notes. My boss threw me a lifeline. Lead this new project. We need someone who does not start fires. I took it. I went into meetings with a cool head. I slept better. I ate better. I went back to the gym. I discovered that running a 5K does not fix your life, but it does cross off a line from the anxiety list. I learned to live in my white apartment with an echo, and the dog got used to his new bed. We followed his 50-50 schedule, as if we were adults. When Amanda missed the schedule, Lawson would remind her of the agreement by email. If she was slow to respond, the reminder was her company's human resources, because by that point she was no longer alone in her problem. Human resources had given her a formal warning and a final notice. I would find out about the other thing later, that they let her go. Termination for violation of internal policies and misuse of resources. No scandal, no slammed door, just an email with the subject. Your employment relationship has ended. Lee would forward me a similar one from Trevor weeks later. Mutually agreed upon rescission. Translation: you are leaving, and you are leaving with a package that keeps you quiet. The news of the dismissal did not make me happy. It calmed me. The arithmetic part of the punishment began. Amanda was left without a paycheck, with an advancing pregnancy, and with a house that was now a glowing sign asking the market to buy it. She wrote to me, "I need you to keep me on your insurance until I have the baby. You will be on it until the divorce is final." I replied, "That does not depend on my affection. It is the plan's policy. After that, Cobra. I cannot afford Cobra. Neither can I. You are a monster. I am a sterile man with a memory." The day of the birth, she announced it to me with a message that said, "My water broke." She did not ask me to go. I did not say anything. A nurse from the hospital called me in the mid-afternoon as a protocol to confirm that I would not sign the paternity acknowledgement form. I told her no and that we had already sent the letter. "Yes, we have it here," the voice said. "We are just following procedure." I hung up. I made myself a sandwich, took the dog out. I came back, sat down, and waited for the phone to do what it does. At 9:13 at night, Amanda sent a photo, a wrinkled baby with a tiny hat. "He is healthy," she wrote. I did not reply. I did not congratulate. I did not hate myself. I did not give him a name in my head. I went to sleep. I dreamed of an empty, clean hospital hallway. 2 days later, an email arrived from Vital Records. "No father has been registered on the birth certificate. If you wish to dispute paternity in the future, please refer to case number XXXXX. I printed it and put it in the gray folder. The world moved on. Trevor, meanwhile, played hide and seek with the concept of responsibility. Lee told me that at first he had filled his mouth with promises. "I will take care of it. Do not worry." Nothing that could be taken to court. Empty words. When the baby appeared, the words started to cost him money. The first paternity hearing sat him in a chair in front of a woman with glasses and a transparent plastic folder. I was notified just in case. I went because I preferred to see people's faces instead of reading them in a PDF. Amanda was wearing a blouse that hid nothing, and her eyes had a new line of tiredness. Trevor had his beard trimmed very short, like men who think that tidying their hair is tidying their life. Lee did not go in. She waited outside. When the judge said, "Mandatory DNA test," Amanda looked at Trevor with a plea that did not move me at all. He nodded as if he could negotiate it. 2 weeks were enough for the lab to do its job. 99.99% probability. The paper had the tone of a green traffic light. The next hearing was surgery without anesthesia. The court established paternity, set retroactive child support from birth, defined visitation, and made it clear, he said it out loud, without poetry, that I did not figure, did not owe, could not be compelled to anything. Trevor looked at his hands. Amanda looked at the floor. I looked at the clock. Lee sent me a thumbs up from the hallway. No celebrations. We each went back to our lives, but now the map was printed with ink that does not run. While all that was happening, the house was sold. Not for what we wanted, for what it was worth. After deducting commissions, taxes, minor corrections that the buyer demanded, and Amanda's arrears that were left as a bite out of her share, My part arrived as a decent amount in my account. I did not pop any bottles. I paid off small debts. I set up an emergency fund, and I bought myself a dining table that does not wobble. It is incredible how quickly a life improves when a table stops dancing. Amanda tried another route. She wrote to me with a tone of last resort. They cannot find a daycare without references from the father. Can you sign as an emergency contact? At least they can put Trevor. He does not want to be on the school papers. He is the father. What does it cost you? My peace. There was silence for days. Then a flurry of messages that seemed dictated by someone in a hurry. You are heartless. I did nothing to you. It was a decision between the two of us. We always wanted a baby. You left me no choice. I did not answer. I was not going to debate history with someone who had chosen an alternate ending. On LinkedIn, Amanda changed her headline to one of those unemployment euphemisms. In transition, open to new opportunities while embracing my new role as a mother. Trevor deleted his photo with a glass and uploaded one with a blue polo shirt in a cheap co-working space. Lee uploaded a photo with her children without him, with a text that said nothing and said everything. We are fine. One Saturday afternoon, Amanda showed up at my door. She had the baby in a carrier and a diaper bag hanging from her shoulder. She did not give me a heads up. She did not have an appointment. The doorman let her in without asking. When I looked through the peephole, she was already in front of me with a face that mixed broken pride and exhaustion. I opened, not because I wanted to see her, because I liked the doorman and did not want him to lose his job. I need to talk, she said without a greeting. 5 minutes. I replied and left the door half-latched. I was not going to let her pass with the child as an emotional toll. I do not have a job. Trevor gives me what the judge said, but it is not enough. Daycare costs more than the rent. I cannot go back to live with my parents. I want you to help me survive until I get stable. I looked at her. I did not look at the baby. If I looked at the baby, I was going to make the mistake of feeling tenderness. And that was not my baby, it was someone else's child. I am not going to help you, I said. Accept your team. Trevor, and you made decisions. You are a team. You were my team. I was your husband. You stopped being my partner the day you started timing your ovulations with another guy. It is not fair. It is not. It is your turn to live it. You are fine, right? She spat. You have already fixed your life. You are running. You have a new table. You hate me for that, because I have what you cannot have. I do not hate you. You are a statistic. People who think the world owes them a prize, and then are surprised when the bill appears. Look at him, she said, lifting the baby a little. Just look at him. You are not a monster. Go away, Amanda. She left with steps that did not sound of guilt. They sounded of tiredness. I closed the door, rested my forehead on the wood, counted to 20. I poured myself some water. I took the dog out. I walked 2 blocks, 3, 5. I practiced the long breathing my therapist taught me. For in, for hold, for out. I came back. The apartment smelled of detergent and nothing else. Peace is not heroic, it is a smell. The divorce was finalized with an email with an electronic signature. A PDF signed my freedom. We had already done almost all of the division of property. The house sold, the furniture divided, the accounts closed. There was no alimony, no compensations. The judge left it in a phrase that I saved. Each one assumes the consequences of their actions. The sentence does not use poetry, but it can be framed. There were loose ends, yes. Amanda tried one last twist, a civil lawsuit for emotional abandonment, that did not survive the first hearing. Lawson pulverized it with the urologist's diagnosis and with the emails where she coordinated her ovulation calendar with Trevor while asking me to pay the mortgage. The judge did not even make us waste time on another date. Dismissed. Amanda left the courthouse with a lost look. I did not follow her. The map of ruins was drawn without me pushing anything. Her company fired her. Trevor's did too. Lee won her divorce on reasonable terms. Primary custody, the house for the children, and a financial tourniquet that squeezes Trevor every fortnight. Trevor, with child support for 3 children, 2 with Lee, 1 with Amanda, plus his own rent in a furnished studio with furniture that looks like it is rented by the hour, cannot cope. I know because in the next process, the one for setting child support for the baby, he tried to cry to the judge that he could not pay more. The judge answered him with a textbook phrase. Obligations to your children are not negotiable. End of story. Amanda got a part-time contract at a small consulting firm, without insurance, with an unstable schedule and a boss who probably thinks he is a hero for paying a pittance to a woman trying to support a baby and an apartment with thin walls. She moved twice in 6 months. The last address she gave me to notify things had a door with peeling paint and a hallway that smelled of reheated food. It did not make me happy. It confirmed that ruin makes no noise when it arrives. It sits, waits, and eats you from the edges. I, on the other hand, fine-tune my days. I am not going to sell a fable. I did not transform into a 5 a.m. morning guru. I simply stopped fighting with ghosts. I had a project in production that went out without serious errors. They gave me a bonus. I moved to a slightly better apartment, with afternoon light and a balcony that can fit a table that does not dance. I learned to cook 2 things very well. I went back to playing a guitar that I had left collecting dust in the closet. I opened a savings account with a silly name, Cushion, and for the first time I was not afraid to look at the balance. The dog, as always, taught me simple loyalties. From time to time, I get an echo from the other side. A mutual friend sends me a "Did you see this?" with a story from Amanda on Instagram. Real motherhood, with a long text about how difficult it is. The daycares, the cruel employers, the system that fails us women. I do not comment, I am not her audience. One afternoon, however, she tagged me in a passive-aggressive post. There are men who abandon, and a couple more phrases that smelled of dirt under painted nails. I took a screenshot of the judge's order that excluded me from any paternity obligation. I uploaded it to my story with a 6-word text. I am not the father. Signed paper. The end. Silence. She did not write to me in public again. She learned, I hope, that some stories come back to you like a boomerang. Lee wrote to me the day she received her divorce decree. Closed. Thanks for not turning this into a circus. Circuses are distracting, I replied. It was useful for me for everything to be clear. Are you okay? Yes. Me too. The kids are fine. That is enough. We never saw each other again. We did not need to become something else to round out a narrative that already has enough dark chapters. When I close my eyes and go back to that moment when everything broke, the corner of the chat with, I am ovulating, I do not ask myself what would have happened if I had forgiven or understood or accompanied. I do not have a manual for that, and I do not want one. What I do have is a sequence that I followed without shortcuts. Diagnosis, clarity, not signing, denying paternity, separating assets, not financing, not participating, documenting, letting the systems do their thing. It is not Hollywood revenge, it is surgery. The results are invisible to the casual spectator, but the patient, me, breathes. Amanda and Trevor wanted a child to fill a void. They opened 3. Their ruin is not a mystical punishment. It is a sum: 2 lost jobs, a divorce, another child support payment, a rental in a place they did not post on Instagram, a daycare that is paid late, a list of friends who stopped responding when it was no longer fun to sit around and talk bad about me. Nobody died. Nothing is burning. Only monthly payments fall with punctuality. Justice, when it wants to, sounds like an automatic debit. My life is not a story of overcoming adversity. It is a life that returned to its factory settings, but with a more robust firewall. I get up, I walk the dog, I work, I run, I play the guitar. There is a girl in my building who always laughs at the same bad joke the doorman tells. Sometimes we run into each other at the mailbox and talk for 2 minutes about nothing. I am not looking for anything. I am not running from anything. I say this without epic. Yesterday, I finally received the last missing paper, the certified certificate from the county, where it says in black letters and a blue seal that Amanda's baby has no one in the father box other than Trevor. I put it in the gray folder. I closed the drawer. I went out to the balcony. The afternoon was warm. The dog rolled around a bit and then looked at the street as if waiting for someone. No one is coming. And that is okay. This has no moral, no lesson for everyone. It has a clear ending. The person who betrayed me to fulfill her desire for motherhood was left with exactly that. Motherhood without my resources, without my name, without my house, without my time. And the other one, the one with the glass of wine in the company photo, now pays 3 child supports and sleeps in a bed that does not sound like family. I, on the other hand, live with a table that does not wobble and a gray folder that reminds me that when you take yourself seriously, sometimes the world responds.